मैंने कभी नहीं सोचा है कि रूटेड काम करना है या ये रूटेड फिल्म है या ये रूटेड कैरेक्टर है. I like a story, I like the character, then I try and find its base, like its reality in my world.
And completely outside my comfort zone. Her value system is completely alien to mine, but I have to still perform that role with conviction, as if this is something that I believe in wholeheartedly. This is the fabric of my existence. This is my world.
It is my responsibility as a maker. Having said that, I also tell them what we are doing to a certain extent, because I want it to stay in their minds, what we are trying to do, because only then they will grow up with that thought, right? It is the right age to feed them some things and tell them this is what you're trying to do.
So it's not a conscious choice to do films that are about a female protagonist or that has a message. All of those films were interesting to me. Like I loved Chhorii. I absolutely loved it. I wanted to do something like that, and I did. I loved the idea of a girl selling condoms and saying, you should be the one protecting yourself. Why are we depending on a man buying protection? Why can't I buy my own protection?
When it came to this film, I wanted to do it. I have loved Chhorii. I have loved working with Vikram Malhotra, the producer. We've worked before in the past. I enjoyed the way that Vishal told the story in Chhorii. I knew that he knew how to bring out amazing performances because I love Nushrratt's work in Chhorii.
And then when it did well, that is when Chhorii 2 came about. So for me, it has been an interesting journey.
Hi everyone, this is Chhorii. You're watching me on IWMBuzz, and sitting with me is a set of people who actually now belong to a rare club on OTT. And if you're thinking what rare club I'm talking about, I don't know guys if you all know, the rare club they're talking about is having a sequel of an OTT film to an OTT film.
Oh,
that's a pretty rare thing to happen.
I had
never thought of it like that.
Yeah, right, yeah. So it is a rare club.
Of course, you all would know that.
Yeah, of course.
IWMBuzz would know that. If there's anybody who knows that.
It is rare, and that just is perfectly, sort of summing
So you're
up.
telling me there's no OTT film?
No, there has been. That's why I mentioned rare.
club.
A
So
film,
rare,
a
lesser
film
known.
which has come on OTT.
Yes.
Two
This
films
is
back
the
to back.
third film. This is the third film to happen.
I mean, unofficially, I would like to know which are those two.
And officially, yes, I'll let you know, apart from the fact that those are a different platform. But yes, we'll talk about it. But of course, that we get to the fact that these are rare people, rare lovely people sitting with me. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks, yeah.
Feeling very precious.
Finally, the world knows.
Of course,
We are
exactly. My question is a little heavy. Let's say that, but because I have a fascinating thing when it comes to actors and directors sitting together, because two different sides of the spectrum and talking about something that you've created, right? So my first question is that the idea of horror has been extremely misplaced in the Hindi film industry. Okay, it's either you try and test the tried and tested things, which has been a royal miss, or you try something so unique that it's outside the realm of possibility. Right? Chhorii sort of made that palatable. I'm talking about the first installment, of course. It made it palatable to a way that everyone obviously connected, and there was obviously a factor. Now that you guys can chime in, anyone can chime in, of course, you being the first one. Now that you have an IP, you have a sequel, of course, there are this, that you have to take care of it. What are the kind of do's and don'ts you make sure that it still stays palatable and at the same time it has that recall value as well?
So my journey has not just started with Chhorii. It has started with Lapa Chhapi, which was the first film, right? And when I made that film, there was really no precedent for social horror in the Indian scenario, right? Globally also, Get Out released 2 months after Lapa Chhapi or before Lapa Chhapi, something around the same time. So globally also, I think there were hardly any precedents for social horror. So I would like to believe that at that time that thought had came in because I experienced some statistics and I thought this is really the horror of society and it needs to be told, and the only genre that can do justice to these statistics is the horror genre, because the numbers that came up about female infanticide were really horrific in nature, right? So that's how the genesis of this franchise started with Lapa Chhapi, and then that received massive response from the female audiences. Horror was always known to be a male audience genre because the male used to come in and then there was sleaze and there was a lot of other things which would attract that kind of audience. But this particular franchise, the first film, which because it released in the theatres, it was in theatres for about 10 weeks, I believe, or a little more than that. But it received a massive influx of the female audiences, and that was a big booster. That somewhere we were right in doing what we tried to do, which is to tell an entertaining story keep the audiences immersed, but by the end of it, say something more.
Yeah.
Right. And then that led to Chhorii. Chhorii also happened with a prolific producer in Vikram Malhotra who saw the potential in the subject and wanted to not just end there but take it forward in the future.
Right.
So that's how Chhorii happened. Then Prime Video came in, which gave us a much bigger platform, a global platform to tell that story and to present that story to the world. And then when it did well, that is when Chhorii 2 came about.
Yeah.
So for me, it has been an interesting journey. And now the endeavor with this part is to continue that journey and deliver a balance of both, which is entertainment in terms of the genre, because it's very important, and because there are social horrors which lend itself organically to the genre. And since we've started on that journey, we would like to continue that journey. And see, I am not a person who believes that films really change society, but I know that they would impact some people here and there, or at least they would leave a thought behind. And I think horror as a genre has that potential because it remains it has a long-lasting effect on the mind. So when that effect has been put in, maybe the thought that okay, this social evil exists, and if I see it somewhere around me, I should probably try and do something about it, would probably be propagated.
Fair, no, absolutely. And going a little off from this, Soha, I'll have to talk to you about this, because your journey has also been very fascinating to me in the best way, I'm saying, because I think what happened in COVID and after COVID is there were so many actors and people, obviously started watching stuff a lot more. What led to that is that, people revisiting works, which probably they sort of started marinating your opinions about it, appreciating things which weren't really appreciated at that time. My question to you is that for someone who is consciously been selective about things over the years, and especially now that you've probably been at the receiving end of a lot of love as well, as I mentioned, because people have started loving these works a lot more. Do you now make a much more, evolved, do you have a much more evolved approach when you choose a script, or is it still, having that gut instinct and trying to also balance it with a more analyzed approach?
I mean, I wish I had a more evolved approach, but it does tend to be quite instinctive. But what I have now is good advice around me. I really do trust Kunal's advice. And I think basically I talk to him when I'm choosing to do a film or not. And I give quite a lot of credit to his advice. When it came to this film, I wanted to do it. I have loved Chhorii. I have loved working with Vikram Malhotra, the producer we've worked before in the past. I enjoyed the way that Vishal told the story in Chhorii. I knew that he knew how to bring out amazing performances because I love Nushrratt's work in Chhorii. So I really felt, and then when he explained Dasima's character to me, I said, I really want to, I can see this, and I want it to be me. But of course, when I discussed it with Kunal, he said, are you sure that it's not going to be tacky? Because often when it comes with horror, especially because you are going to be monstrous in the film, they're going to make you look a certain way. If that doesn't come across well, then it may not be something that, you're going to be very happy with. So I said, yes, I know it is a risk, but I have faith. And it's not blind faith. I have faith because I've seen the work that is being put into this. We went ahead and did it, and I'm very happy that I did do it. So to answer your question, it is instinctive. It's mainly, would I feel bad if I saw someone else playing this character? And I definitely would if I saw someone else playing Dasima. I would feel like I missed out on an opportunity, and I didn't want that to happen.
Lovely, lovely. And Nushrratt, coming to you, the biggest constant as a conversation over the years has been, now, it's to an extent, it's sort of bastardized also, which is about the fact that actresses doing female-oriented subjects. It is probably the most cliched thing, but funnily, you've already done it so consistently, and maybe not even, coming right away that I have to sort of do it, right? You've had your Janhit Mein Jaris, you've had, Akheli, you've had Chhorii Si 2. How much of that started becoming natural to you, over the course of time? Because you obviously were loved for something else entirely. How much of that, as I mentioned, asking you, that started becoming natural to you, and how much of that was conscious? And now, what is the scenario with that?
I don't think I ever took any conscious decision of changing my path or my career. I really feel like in my life has happened to me, and that's how I've lived it. I've just let things happen, trust the process and the flow. And I like that about my life. I like that I'm unpredictable. I like that today I'm here, tomorrow I'll be on a holiday somewhere and you won't know where.
Hopefully not tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully not tomorrow.
Still
but like
promoting.
tomorrow.
Got work to do.
So, but no, and I also, I think I'm both spectrums.
Yeah.
I love my Panchnamas. I love my Sonu Ki Cheetu Ki Sweetie. I love my Dream Girl. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. And then I was thrown into an Ajeeb Dastan, which I loved even more.
Yeah.
In fact, at that time, I was advised by the best people in the trade to not do this film. And I went to meet the director to actually say no. मतलब मैं मना करने गई थी. I sat with him, sir, for 1 hour and talked about sun, moon and stars, nothing to do with the film. And I looked at him and I said, you know, मैं मना करने आई थी, to be honest, but चलो करते हैं. मैंने कहा क्या हो जाएगा, देखी जाएगी.
Yeah.
That is who Nushrratt is intrinsically.
Right.
So your question, gut and instinct, yes, I go on that. But do I do evolved decisions now? Of course, because my gut and instinct has also evolved. So it's not a conscious choice to do films that are about a female protagonist or that has a message. All of those films were interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like I loved Chhorii. I absolutely loved it. I wanted to do something like that. And I did. I loved the idea of a girl selling condoms and saying, you should be the one protecting yourself. Why are we depending on a man buying protection? Why can't I buy my own protection?
Right.
I think it's very liberating to walk up to a chemist and say, I want a packet of condoms. Why is that judged?
Correct.
So when a film like that came to me, I said, hi, I want to do this. Like, sorry, I can't not do this. Then there's another film that I've done which will release soon. Again, that subject for me is so close to me that I said, hey, I can't not do this again. So it might look like I'm doing these films consciously, but I'm not. It's just subjects that are really talking to me and like calling me and saying, and I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have fun doing this. And that's what it is.
Lovely, lovely. And you know, now my question is for the three of you. Rooted storytelling is also being talked about in the best way because everybody talks about how rooted storytelling is the way to go. It's not about having a formula. You know, it's not like a formula that people are like, ye karenge to acha hi hoga, zaruri nahi hai. But let's talk about more rooted stories. Let's do more rooted stories. This being the perfect example of that, right? But I think there is also a conversation that surrounds it, is that whenever some people have that, when you're looking at actors who obviously have a presence otherwise, right? And they are trying to do characters which are so rooted. They obviously do their research and everything, but they might not have the same take which probably an actor who is also so-called rooted has. So what do you have as actors, what is your take on that? And even as a filmmaker, you know, what is your take on that when you are doing your research and going down and getting all those nitty-gritties out of there?
मतलब I honestly have never thought of it like that. मैंने कभी नहीं सोचा है कि rooted काम करना है या ये rooted film है या ये rooted character है. I like a story, I like the character. Then I try and find its base, like its reality in my world. If I can't find it in my world, then I go to like references from either other films or other characters, or I go to a director and say, hi, I'm not able to see this girl. And then he shows me a world or a place where those characteristics exist and I can take from them. If those are rooted, then great, I'm rooted. If they are not rooted, which I don't know is what really, because I feel every character has some roots. It has roots to its own reality. And we should be open to doing any and everything that comes. मतलब मुझे नहीं लगता बाबू was not rooted या स्वीटी was not rooted. मुझे लग रहा है rooted थी. But वो अब आपका root क्या है, उसका root क्या है, वो थोड़ा अलग है. Correct. So that's how I see it. I mean, I don't know, you guys would know better.
No, I agree. I think you have to find the root. You have to find, especially when you're playing a character, if you don't know where the root of that character is, if you don't know where the motivation comes from, what drives this character, what the backstory is, then how do you perform it? Yeah. How do you do it with conviction? And sometimes it can be a totally out there character. I mean, Dasima is nothing like me, I think. And, you know, completely outside my comfort zone. Her value system is completely alien to mine. But I have to still perform that role with conviction, as if this is something that I believe in wholeheartedly. This is the fabric of my existence. This is my world. And I can only do the evil things that I do if I believe that there is, you know, that this is the only way, that this is backed with like a lot of stuff and it's happening for generations for a reason.
Right.
So I think that it is important.
Lovely. Sure.
No, I mean, as I said, the first film happened in 2017, but we had shot it in 2015, wrote 2 years back. So I never thought that this is a conversation which needed to be talked about. Films have to be rooted, right? I mean, so merely it was nothing new. It is the flavor of the season. For me, it is not the flavor of the season. I've always been like this.
Right.
And I'm not somebody who's been born in the villages. I was born very much here in Bombay. I've spent a certain time in villages and then I've come back to the city. So for me, my roots lie in the village as well as in the city as well, right? So I have never thought of it as I need to write a rooted story. It has always come naturally to me.
Yeah.
No, lovely. And finally, on a parting note, one thing probably that doesn't really get talked about is, over the course of past few years, after OTT's, boomed the way it has, everybody's, started talking about how when you're doing intimate scenes, there are intimacy coordinators, which is a fantastic, thing to have, because there is, there is a system and there's a discipline that's followed. But when it comes to child actors, I think that to have, these youth coordinators or child psychologists, that probably isn't a practice per se, because of course nobody wants to be like rude to them or something,
Right.
but you are in pressures, right? You have a lot of things to take care of. Has that, I don't think that would have been a factor for Chhorii too, but how do you make sure that that sanity and that, that delicacy, that decency is always maintained when you're working with child actors, for you as actors and for you as a filmmaker?
Yeah. No, I mean, we try and protect the kids as much as we can. I mean, 100%, because I feel that that needs to be done. It is my responsibility as a maker. Having said that, I also tell them what we are doing to a certain extent, because I want it to stay in their minds, what we are trying to do, because only then they will grow up with that thought, right? It is the right age to feed them some things and tell them this is what you're trying to do, right? When it comes to the horror part of it, I mean the prosthetic makeup and all, I make them sit with the person who is that character. So in this case, when Soha was doing her prosthetic makeup, we made the child sit with her, so she knows that it's Soha, and then the makeup is done on her.
Lovely.
And then we know that, okay, behind this mask is Soha. So then she is not scared or traumatized by that visual.
Right.
So I think that's how we try and protect the kids, and I think it's really, really important to do that.
Lovely. You guys?
I mean, it was very close to home for me, because Hardika, who plays the character in the film, Nushrratt's daughter, was the same age as my daughter almost.
Oh, lovely.
And I just kept thinking, like, my instinct is to just make sure that she's comfortable.
Yeah.
As it is, my instinct is to sort of joke and make light of the moment. But I did want to maintain a certain detachment from her, because our characters, we spent most of my scenes actually with her.
Yeah.
And she's a phenomenal actor as well. And so, children can be a little unfocused at times.
Right.
And she was focused and she followed direction. And she was very, very good and present. And there were also difficult conditions that we were shooting in. Dusty conditions, dark conditions.
Right.
And I just thought, this is a young child. I'm a parent to a young child. So it came naturally to me to be protective of her. What was more difficult was to be menacing towards her, which is what my character is.
Yeah. Lovely. And Nushrratt?
I think they've covered most of it, but if there's a practicality to the question and the answer is, how do you we worked our schedule around her.
Okay.
I don't think we kept her beyond a certain time. We did her scenes first, or we did finish parts in which you needed her to perform and be that person. And as a child on set, if she needed to be kept engaged, I won't say entertained, I think it's engaged is the right word. We would all take turns, whether it's the AD department or us or Sir. I think it was mainly Sir, because she had the most connection in terms of time with him. We talked to her about things, we played games with her, we made light of situation. If she was talking about something as random as her teeth, which I know was a very big conversation.
I know, because her teeth were falling through the
her teeth kept falling out. So every day we'd be like, hi, there's one more tooth of yours gone, what are you going to do now?
Like, continuity ka kya hoga?
It was very sweet. So I think we just, we did that for her to feel like, मैं घर से बाहर तो आई हूँ, but this is also feeling pretty much easy to exist in and be in. As much as we could, honestly. And of course her mum was there with her. She had family there, which would make her feel that if she has to go back to the van to rest for a few hours, if she's not up for doing the shot, then she would be with her mom, resting, chilling. Whenever she's up for it, we would do it. So I think that is the practice we followed on set to be able to
We were
work
very
with
nice,
children.
very nice people to work with.
Lovely, lovely. No, I mean everybody vouches for that, I'm sure. Fantastic guys, because that's what is important, and at this risk of having extremely bad wordplay, the horror aspect will work and probably highlight on some crazy social horrors as well, which is important to be highlighted upon. So thank you guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We all love
Thank
the
you.
first installment. The second installment looks promising and has the right elements to genuinely work rather than just saying for the sake of it. So all the best, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Kunal.
you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.